A U.S. congressman claims that there are no fewer than 5 different assassination teams that want to kill the Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump. And 2 of these teams are inspired by Iran and Ukraine. Why are U.S. political risk and global geopolitical risk increasingly intertwined ahead of the U.S. election next month? What do you need to know about the reaction functions of the major players? What is a good outcome for the world in the financial market? What is a bad outcome? The U.S. presidential election is now only a month away. As it approaches, the world is entering into an unstable and dangerous period. Unstable because of the high stakes in this election. Dangerous because some groups, American and foreign, may try to influence its outcome, by hook or by crook. According to Matt Gaetz, representative for the 1st Congressional District of Florida, U.S. intelligence agencies are aware of at least 5 different teams, including 3 foreign ones, that want to kill Trump. The Trump campaign released a statement last week that Trump has been briefed by U.S. intelligence officials on threats from Iran to assassinate him. Ryan Wesley Ruth, who's charged for the 2nd attempted assassination on Trump, was working on recruiting fighters to defend Ukraine against Russia. U.S. politics are a major driver of global geopolitics. Are global geopolitics about to drive U.S. politics? Under Biden, American exceptionalism and progressive internationalism, 2 ideological strange bedfellows, came together to shape U.S. foreign policy. The result was a new strategic containment of China, an authoritarian regime that also threatens the U.S. hegemony. The Biden administration spent much of the past 4 years introducing trade barriers on Chinese goods, restricting China's access to advanced technologies, discouraging Chinese investment in the U.S., and strengthening security cooperation with China's neighbors. But this was not all. Under Biden, Washington also set out to weaken China's allies and drive a wedge between them and Beijing. This can explain Biden's strong support for Ukraine in its war against Russia, China's most important ally. This can also explain Biden's decision to unfreeze billions of dollars of Iranian assets and the effective halt in the enforcement of U.S. sanctions on Iranian oil exports over the past 3 years. Not to mention that Biden has repeatedly held back Israel from applying his full strength against Iran and its proxies over the past year. U.S. policies under Biden were designed to destabilize Russia and seduce Iran. The problem is that with only 3 months left to the end of the Biden presidency, these policies are failing. The Russian economy is forecasted by the IMF to grow 3.2% this year, faster than U.S. growth. And Russian troops are accelerating their advance across southeastern Ukraine. Iran, which took full advantage of the reduced pressure from Washington to speed up its nuclear enrichment activities, is now between just 1 to 2 weeks from building a nuclear bomb if it chooses to do so. Not only Biden's policies have failed to pull away Iran from China and Russia. Iran recently transferred hundreds of ballistic missiles to Russia for use in the Ukraine war. Biden can walk away and blame these failures on his own party for not allowing him to finish what he started. But Iran and Ukraine are facing a potential unpleasant backlash to Biden's policies. In this respect, Iran and Ukraine have as much stake in the November election as the Democratic Party. Last week, 3 Iranians were charged by the Justice Department for hacking emails of the Trump campaign and forwarding stolen emails to the Biden campaign. For Iran, a second Trump term would be a disaster. In his first term, Trump imposed tough sanctions on Iran that sent its economy spiraling. Trump also ordered the assassination of Qassem Soleimani, the commander of the Quds force and the second most powerful man in Iran. For Ukraine, a second Trump term would mean the end of unconditional U.S. support. A second Trump term will likely force Kiev to accept the reality of its shrunken territory. Neither Iran nor Ukraine would like to see Trump back in the White House. I don't want to speculate on how far they're prepared to go to prevent it. What I want to do is to discuss how over the next month the approach of the U.S. election might influence their actions, as well as those of their foes, Israel and Russia. As Henry Kissinger famously said, it may be dangerous to be America's enemy, but to be America's friend is fatal. Zelensky went to war with Russia only because of Washington's assurance that it had its back. Now there's only one way out for Zelensky. As I argued a month ago, that is to drag the US and NATO into a direct conflict with Russia. Zelensky understands this well, evidenced by his demand for immediate NATO membership and permission to use long-range NATO missiles against targets inside Russia when he met with Biden in Washington last week. Biden didn't publicly give Zelensky the green light, but we don't know what was discussed behind closed doors. What is clear is that a rash move by Zelensky that brings Russia and NATO to the brink of a nuclear conflict will help Trump. This is why Zelensky will lie low as long as Kamala Harris remains in the lead in the polls. However, if Trump were to retake the lead, which is my central scenario, the chance that Zelensky will fire a long-range NATO missile at Russia before the US election increases significantly. My prediction is that geopolitical risk as relates to the Ukraine war will rise as we get closer to the US election. What about geopolitical risk in the Middle East? Like Ukraine, Iran does not want to see Trump return to the White House. Like Zelensky, Khamenei does not want to do anything that might boost Trump's chances. My gut tells me that this was why Iran did not immediately strike at Israel following the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, in Tehran in July. If I'm right, it is possible that Iran's decision to attack Israel this week was at least partially influenced by the growing signs that Kamala Harris momentum is waning, especially among the battleground states. I argued a few weeks ago that Iran had an incentive to make a move towards nuclear immunity ahead of the US election if it became convinced that Trump is going to win. This possibility makes it even more likely that Israel will launch a major strike on Iran. With seeming declining influence of the Biden administration on both Iran and Israel, an all-out war between the two arch-rivals seems unavoidable. My prediction is that geopolitical risk in the Middle East will also rise as we get closer to the US elections. Both US political risk and global geopolitical risk are set to go up as we head towards the US election. Market reaction to the first two assassination attempts on Trump was muted because they failed to kill him. Will Trump be so lucky if there's another attempt? Will Israel's looming strike on Iran target its nuclear program? Will Ukraine launch a long-range missile at a major Russian city? With S&P 500 just below its all-time high, I think the risk premium in the market is too low. In foreign policy terms, Biden is an idealist, while Trump is a realist. Biden's presidency has steered the world dangerously close to the edge of World War III. A second Trump presidency may or may not be able to bring the world back from the brink. But what is very clear is that the transition from Biden to the next presidency will be fraught with risk. This is why I remain long the October VIX contract. Thank you for listening.